We're with David Shapiro. David is a criminal defense attorney in San Diego. He's agreed to answer an online question. This specifically was possession of cocaine, drug possession. Here's a specific question which was answered. The question was from Clev. He says, I was arrested in San Diego for possession of a small amount of cocaine. I have no prior record. What are the chances that I can get probation and that the charge will be dismissed if I complete a program?
Well, Cliff, the first thing that's important to really look at here is the amount of cocaine which you're saying was found on you. If it's a usable, small, simple amount, and then that's the first issue. Then I would look at what, if any, is your criminal history. If you have no prior criminal history, particularly no drug offenses, and this is your first, what's referred to as simple possession, which in all likelihood would be just a misdemeanor charge, you may be eligible for a program known as PC, that's Penal Code 1000, where you would not ever be on probation because you would never be convicted. PC 1000 is a program, if you're eligible or deemed eligible for that program, where assuming it's in your best interest, meaning assuming you don't have a legitimate defense to the charge, and even if you do, you still may want to go this route. PC 1000 is a program where you actually enter a plea to the drug offense, but sentencing is put off in 18 months. What that means is you're not sentenced, so the conviction is not final. What happens is during that 18 months, you do a brief outpatient program, certified as a PC 1000 acceptable program, remain law-abiding, and then in many instances, particularly in San Diego, administratively, there's not even a court hearing after those 18 months, assuming you're in compliance. Administratively, your plea would be withdrawn, it gets taken back, and the case is ultimately dismissed at that point. PC 1000 actually has a provision in one of its subdivisions of the code where it would actually seal and ultimately destroy your arrest record as well, which is next to impossible to do, particularly after you plead guilty. So, that's a great, great program that when you're done with everything, you will never be on probation, you'll never be convicted. The arrest record in and of itself may very well be sealed. Now, if you've gone through the PC 1000 program or may not be eligible for it, you may be eligible for something known as Proposition 36 or Prop 36. That's where you actually enter a plea, you're convicted and sentenced, but at the end of a period of time, usually around 1 to 2 years, you would be eligible to have your plea withdrawn, the case dismissed under Penal Code Section 1210. It doesn't afford the protections that PC 1000 would, but it's certainly better than just any other conviction. The other issue is if you have a prior criminal history which makes you ineligible, or for whatever reason, your own decision or otherwise, you decide not to avail yourself or take advantage of these programs, then you would be, if you're convicted of what in all likelihood would be a misdemeanor offense of Health and Safety Code Section 11350 for the possession of cocaine, you could face up to 1 year in jail. Now, a couple of years ago and before, those would be felony charges, but when the law changed recently, what that means is for most people, unless you have a horrendous criminal history with violent and what's known as super strike type offenses, simple possession would be only a misdemeanor. If it's possession with the intent to sell, if you're dealing with a larger amount, 6 grams, 7 grams, 8 grams, 10 grams, beyond, then you're facing a non-reducible felony charge, which means if you're convicted, you can never have that reduced to a misdemeanor, let alone any type of drug treatment program like a PC 1000 or a Prop 36. So there's a real big difference between misdemeanor and felony possession of cocaine, whether it's simple possession or possession for sale. But without a record, you may be eligible to have basically this taken care of without ever having to be convicted if you take advantage, if you're eligible for the PC 1000 program.
Excellent. Well, that should be some pretty useful information. Thank you, David. If you have additional questions for David, just post them to the comments section below if you want some clarity on the issue. And thanks for your time, David.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. And again, I could always be reached at my office at 619-295-3555.